Hello racing fans, welcome to part 1 of episode 22 of the big Group 1 racing show for the racing season of 2016/17. 3 Group 1s coming up this weekend, another massive weekend of Group 1 racing, and in part 1 of episode 22 I will preview the first of those 3 Group 1s, which is the William Reid Stakes being held at Moonee Valley. So let's not muck around, let's get straight into previewing the William Reid Stakes. So of course, as mentioned, the William Reid Stakes will be held at Moonee Valley, as it always is. It is on Friday, the 24th of March. It is a night race, and it will be starting at 9:30 p.m. local time. Of course, it's over the 1200 metre distance, and of course you can watch all the action on racing.com and also Sky Racing 1. Let's have a look at the field. It's a field of 13 horses. There is one scratching, however, but Start Turn is the favourite at around $4. At $5.50 we have Dell. Silent Sanitation, really rate this horse, is backed by the punters at $7 with Caitlin Mallion aboard. Hellbent is backed at $8. At $14 we have Illustrious Lad. At $15 is Rebel Dane, the Manicato winner of 2016. Could it cause an upset again in this race? Who knows? Flam Birds is backed at $17. Rock Magic comes to Melbourne for the first time, is backed at $18. At $19, Japanese Me. Kaepernick is at $21. At $26, the quarterback. And then last but not least is the Hooked at Hooked at $51. Kuru has been scratched. Of course, that was backed at around $31 before it was no longer taking place in this race. So that is the field, the odds. Now let's have a look at the field in depth. Number 1 is Rebel Dane. This is a Gary Portelli trained horse. Ben Melman takes the ride. It's coming out of barrier 7. And of course, like I mentioned, it won the Manicato last year. That was at Group 1 level, right here at this very track over the same distance. Was actually a surprise winner in that race. I don't think many people expected it to get up and win the way it did. It had a crack at the Group 1 Heikei sprint in Hong Kong in December. It did come 11th though out of the 13 horses, but it did have a crack at that shortly after the Manicato, about a month out from its Manicato win. You cannot rule out of this race, it hasn't finished outside the top 6 at Moonee Valley yet, so that is an interesting statistic in itself. And so in saying that, it should be up there in the top 6 at the later stages of the race. Number 2, the Darren Weir trained Flam Birds with Brad Ruller aboard. It's coming out of barrier 1, the inside barrier, and well, this prep so far, it came 4th first up in the Group 1 Lightning over the 1,000 metres, then went to Caulfield and came 10th in the Oakley, second up over the over the similar distance, 1,100 metres. Its last win came this time last year, in fact, because it won this very race, the William Reid Stakes, in 2016. So can it go back to back? I don't think it can, but I can't rule it out. And in saying that though, I think it is probably place preferred if you're going to give it any chance. Number 3 is the quarterback. This horse is a Robbie Griffin's trained horse. Matthew Allen takes the ride for this race. It's coming out of barrier 12. We know that it got scratched in the Lightning, but it did return first up in the Group 1 at Newmarket at Flemington, where it came 10th out of the 13 horse field. 5th in this race last year. Has never won a race though at Moonee Valley, and it's about 6 years old. So look, I'm going to give it a little bit of a sniff. I think it's place preferred, but it's not really in the best form of its life, unfortunately. Number 4 is Japanise Me, a Chris Waller trained horse. Glenn Schofield takes the rides, coming out of barrier 2. No match in its resuming run last start at Royal Randwick in the Canterbury Stakes, a race that Lee Romain won. Came 3rd in the Manikato last prep, 3rd in this race last year, and hasn't finished outside the top 3 at Moonee Valley. However, hasn't won at Moonee Valley either. So I think it might be a possible roughie. It is at 20 plus odds. I don't know if it's going to win this race. I think if you told me a year ago or whatever, I think it might have been in the better form to win this. But you can't rule out, and well, very good statistic. Hasn't finished outside top 3 at Moonee Valley. So top 3 contender for me. Number 5 is Hooked. This horse is a Robert Smerton trained horse. Craig Williams takes the ride. It's coming out of the outside barrier of barrier 11, and it came 2nd last start over the 1400 metres at Flemington. Won the Group 2 Crystal Mile at Moonee Valley in 2014. Of course, its last start at Flemington over the 1400 metre distance was a resuming run. It did come 2nd to He or She in that race. Drops back the 200 metre to a 200 metre gap from its last race. Hasn't won a race for over a year. I think I'm going to pass on Hooked. Number 6 is Rock Magic. This horse is a Chris Kemi trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 6. Jared Noski is aboard as the jockey. It comes from Western Australia for its first ever run in Melbourne at the age of 7. 3rd to Shydell, which comes 2nd in the Group 1 Winterbottom last year. Of course, that's a Group 1 race at Ascot in Perth. Hasn't finished outside the top 3 in its last 8 starts. I think this horse is a real roughie to look at the odds it is at. Number 8 is Illustrious Lad. This horse has Huey Bowman aboard as the jockey. It's coming out of barrier 8, and a disappointing 11th out of the 13 in the Newmarket last start at Flemington. Has only had the one run at Moonee Valley, where it came 9th over the 1,000 metre distance in 2014. So that was a few years ago now. Can't rule out, because it does have consistent top 6 form these days. So a top 6 contender for my liking. Number 9 is Kaepernick. This horse is a Michael Wayne and John Hawkes trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 4. Damien Oliver takes the ride. Best wasn't good enough late last start in the Group 1 Oakley at Caulfield. Won in 2015 at Moonee Valley over the 1200 metres. I'd be surprised considering the odds it is at, I'd be very surprised if it finished in the top 3. Number 10 is Hellbent. This horse is a Darren Weir trained horse. It's coming out of barrier 5, and Damien Lane keeps the ride from its previous starts. Yet to finish outside the top 4 in its 3 runs it's had in this prep. It comes to Moonee Valley in consistent form. This is a first crack at the Moonee Valley track, but I think with the win range it has, the required win range, I think this horse is a shot. Number 11 is Shydell, and this horse has Blake Shin aboard. It's got David and B. Hayes and T. Dabbernick as the trainer. It's coming out of barrier 9, and behind Leader Rail. Did run on well, but could only settle for 4th in its last run in the Newmarket at Flemington over the 1200 metre distance. Winner of the 2017 Group 1 Oakley. That was, of course, a couple of runs ago now. Hasn't finished outside the top 4 at Moonee Valley yet. Should lead early. It's normally the case with this horse, and it can take some beating. We have seen that, of course. The Oakley, a prime example of what I just said. Number 12, Silent Sanitation, returns to Melbourne after a 2nd in the Coolmore last start. A very impressive run that was. Of course, it did get beaten in the end and came a close second to Heavens Above, who actually won that Group 1 race on the day. Has finished inside the top 3 in its 12 straight runs. That is pretty impressive for my liking, and I did actually mention how impressed I was with this horse in the Coolmore preview I did a couple of weeks ago. Now, I'm expecting it to be there in the finish. I think this horse is a real shot at claiming this Group 1 William Reid in 2017. Of course, this horse is a Andrew Nobet trained horse, and Caton Mallion is aboard as the jockey. It's coming out of barrier 10. Finally, number 13, we have Star Turn, third in both of its races this prep, both at Group 1 level, being the Group 1 Lightning and Newmarket. It's finished 6 of its 7 runs inside the top 3, and well, this is a must for your trifecta at least. If you don't think this horse is going to win the race, it's got to be in your top 3, no doubt about that. A real contender though for the win. Of course, this horse is a Michael Wayne, John Hawkes trained horse, barrier 3, Dwayne Dunn aboard. Of course, it's 3 years old. Okay, time now for my tips for the William Reid Stakes of 2017. Really looking forward to this race, and I have gone Silent Sanitation as my tip to win this year's race. Might be a little bit of a risk considering it's coming out of barrier 10. I think that is a bit of an outside barrier, no question about that, but I don't think we'll have any issues. Of course, it is stepping down from the 1500 metres, which is also a little bit of a risk, but I'd like to see Caitlin Mallion get a Group 1, of course, and I think this horse is her best shot of doing just that. It's in good form. It's finished inside the top 3 in its 12 straight wins. It surely should be there in the top 3, but I think it can win this race, and that's exactly why I'm tipping it as first. It will probably be a little bit of an upset if it does win, so I'm tipping that will happen. I have gone Star Turn as my second place. You cannot, as I mentioned, you cannot push this horse outside your top 3. It's come third in all of its starts so far this prep. It does have a really strong finish that just hasn't proved to be able to get to the first place horse to actually win it a race, but well, at least in its previous starts anyway, of course, those 2 starts, but I think it's in fine form, and it should be right up there with Silent Sanitation, pushing it out for the win. Looking forward to seeing how it runs in this William Reid Stakes. I'm tipping it as second. I've gone Rebel Dane as third. It was a really good Manicato win last year. Has good form at Moonee Valley. Seems to really love Moonee Valley. It seems to be its best track, its favourite track to run on. So I'm going to go Rebel Dane as third. That's my tips. Roughie of the race time. And my roughie of the race, I've given it to Rock Magic. Of course, is coming from Western Australia and comes in good form. It's a real top 3 finisher, and I think because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if I see it up there in the top 3. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets up and win. I know that would be a little bit of an upset, but this horse comes to Melbourne in its good form. I can see why it's coming to Melbourne now, because you know, obviously the trainers, the owners, etc., wanted to get this horse actually 100% right and ready for a big Group 1 Melbourne race, and that's exactly what the trainers and owners have done with this horse. So it's ready, it's raring to go, and I'm tipping it as my roughie of the race. If you want a couple of bucks each way on a long odds horse, I think Rock Magic, even though it is at about $11, $12, Rock Magic I think is the one for you. It's the one for me anyway. So looking forward to the William Reid Stakes. It is going to be a really good race. Of course, Friday night 9:30 at Moonee Valley. Of course, lots of other things happening on Friday night as well in Melbourne, but this should be an absolute ripper. Of course, it's the last Group 1 race in Melbourne this racing season, and of course, it is also the last Group 1 that Greg Miles will call. Of course, he's retiring. Of course, congratulations to Matthew Hill for getting the gig during the week, but Greg Miles, congratulations to him. A fantastic career. I'll always remember him. He's one of the best race callers going around, the best in fact, and he will definitely be missed. It's no question about that. So let's just give him a big clap for a fantastic career. Well done, Greg Miles. And that is it for part 1 of episode 22 of the Big Group 1 Racing Show, where I previewed the William Reid Stakes. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, don't forget to stay tuned for part 2 of episode 21, which will feature the 2 Group 1s coming up at Rosehill Gardens this Saturday in the BMW and the Vinery Studded Stakes. They are going to be 2 massive races that you cannot miss. So do not miss my preview of that coming up very, very shortly. Of course, the only way you can keep up to date with that is by subscribing. The most efficient way anyway is by subscribing, because it will come to your news feed. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, share this video. And like I said, be back with part 2 of episode 22 very shortly. Until then, I'm Jacob. Hope you enjoyed this preview. Bye for now.